Perfect. All right, cool. So here we go with game 9, right? As y'all already know what happened in game 9. If you haven't, you're gonna see it right here. But this is game 9, right? So at this point, Magnus is up, right, 5-3, and game 8 happened. Now game 9, game nine's on the way, and this is game 9. Doorknob dude, thanks for continuing the sub that was gifted to you by Trebek. Thank you so much for that. So here we go, y'all. Here we go. Right. So the last game was C4 with English. I am not a fan of this from the black side. I hate playing against it. So after C4, I like Magnus's choice of playing E6. I do know Jan has played the English with great success actually. So I was looking to see, I thought he was really going to do some good stuff here. C4, E6, and then G3 and D5. I'm like that, I've seen this, but I'm not really into this. Like I don't really know how they play it that much. And then after Bishop G2, I saw D4, and I'm like, this might be my new way of playing against the English, like E6, D5, D4. I've also been looking at some Dutch lines too, but I like this because it's like, you can't play D4. Knight F3, Knight C6, and at this point, I'm already like, yo, black's doing fine. I got a pawn on D4. It almost looks like you reverse colors. Like, you don't usually supposed to allow this, right, when you're playing white. You say reverse Benoni, says Motivator Mark. Yeah, you're not usually supposed to allow this, as white. So I'm already feeling good as black. Knight C6 castles and Bishop C5, yeah. Okay, Bishop C5 happens, defending the pawn. D3, English setup, obviously, you're going to end up playing E3 as well. Knight F6, we get the knight out and we go castle. I mean, this is very easy. I like this next move from Magnus, which was A5. A5 here, gain some space. Maybe you might tuck the bishop, and A4 is going to make this knight be very kind of annoyed here. So knight B3, he hits the bishop. I thought he would back it up, but he actually just moved it to E7. Why didn't he castle before A5? That's a great question. That's a great question. I mean, I'm sure he could have. Let's actually see. You see it's a move, right? It just says it's number 2. I'm sure it's a move, but A5 is like, let's just gain some space first because this is something you want to do. Castling can happen right now. Like, it can happen whenever. Knight B3, Bishop E7, getting out the way. White plays E3, and he breaks it up, finally, because this pawn is a nuisance. He needed to break it up. And this now that it's hanging, E5 is going to make it kind of like weak here because this pawn can't defend it. So he chose to take it, which makes sense. And after bishop takes, again, not castling. Sometimes, like, you can castle too early. And Magnus showed here that, like, you don't have to castle right now, especially when it's available still. And I can do other things like this, knight to G4. This is like a strong move. Like knight G4 hits the bishop. You can play bishop F6. You can also bring this knight back to E5 at the right moment and hit the D3 pawn. That's a nice move. And then, right, Jan's like, if you look at it from Jan's point of view, from white here, it just makes total sense. Because you don't want to really give this up right now, especially for this knight. Right, and maybe you go bishop F4. Looking at this, I probably would have went here. I know I wouldn't have went here, though. I don't think I would have went bishop C5. Let me see what the engine says. Yeah, bishop C5, D4, queen E2. I'm just not a fan of giving this up. But I guess actually after bishop F4, you get E5. Yep, E5. Bishop D2 losing the pawn. Bishop C1's gross. But you don't want to give this up either. So he plays bishop C5. Makes total sense. At the end of the day, when you look at your other options, I mean, you have to kind of do it. Right, you should pursue your plan before castling. Yes, correct. Sometimes there's more things to do before you castle. So after knight G4, bishop C5. And instead of trading, they say to take is a mistake many times. Right, before I capture, is it helping me or is it helping them more? It's a question you should ask. Canty, what's good? What up, Tilting? Windmill. And then get out the way with a castle. White plays D4 to make everything all nice and solid, right? D4 hits the bishop, or at least defends it. And then black plays A4. Great move, gain the space. That's why we played A5, staying consistent. And then after captures on E7, removing it so we can put the knight here. And then captures and knight goes there. Now, Magnus here at this point, guys, actually just has one of the easiest games ever. I mean, the moves just pop out to you. Rook to D8, E5, B6 in some points, bishop B7, right? You can play A3 like he played here. Beautiful move. And then after taking, saying that, wait a second, I can take this whenever. He made this brilliant move here that didn't even show up on the engine. I don't think it did. Look, oh, it is. It does now, but earlier it was not here. But I guess after thinking, it likes Rook D8. But Rook D8 was the move he played here, putting pressure here. You're also threatening stuff like knight takes D4, and then, like, for instance, this. Like, look at this. This could get scary. But then there's, yeah, knight takes e6 doesn't work. I mean, this is getting wild. This is getting very wild. Oh, but after rook d8, knight to b3 from from Jan here, and Magnus chose at this point, I think, to move the knight back, something like that. Yo, Fine Gold with the raid. What's up, bro? What's good, Fine Gold? Fine Gold, the big fella. Shout out to the big fella. What's good, y'all? We just looking at game 9 right now. We're looking at game 9. Thanks for the follow. Welcome. What's up, Raiders? Yeah, so we're in the middle of just looking at it. So knight b3 obviously defends d4. Defends everything. And Magnus chose, this is always a question you need to ask. What's the worst place piece? Yo, Ben with 14 months. Thanks, bro. 14 months from Ben. Yeah, that's right. 14 months from Ben. Big Ben. Thanks, Ben. Hey, have a good one, bro. Appreciate you. As always, make sure y'all following Ben. Thanks for that shout out. C120s. Maliko, thanks for the follow. Big Ben, that's right. I mean, if you look at Magnus's position, right, I'm not tripping here at all. I'm up 2 games already, right? I'm literally up 2 games. This is like game over. McCain Cracker, thanks for the follow. Thantro, hey man, love your content. Thanks, Chess. Is my life. Appreciate it. Yo, this is going right here on YouTube. This is game 9 we're looking at here. We're just doing a recap. Just checking it out. Knight b3, of course, defending d4. Pawn structure shatter here, but I like this move from Magnus. Just being patient. You don't have to take it right now. He played knight f6 to back it up. Take a look at that b4 from white instead of b takes a3. Sack a pawn for rook activity and spirit of alpha right here. Was that like a move or something? b4. Wow. What is this? Was this like talked about? Let me see. Wow. Rook b1. Is this not hanging? What is this nonsense? I guess queen c2 maybe. And a knight's trap. What on earth is this? Wow, this was suggested in Nakamura analysis. Bobby wanted this? What on earth is this? This is getting nuts right now. Okay. b6? What? What if I... Oh, whoa. Knight c6, knight b7, bishop takes b7, knight takes, rook takes, knight a5. Rook somewhere. Wait, what? Okay, hold up. Here, knight takes. Takes, knight a5. And rook b1 and white's okay? How is white? Well, I guess, I mean, there is a lot going on right now. But there's b2 here. This position is so rich. This would have got wild. Knight here, but then h3. There's no attacking. This is covered. d4 is weak. Wow. I mean, look at this game. This is a whole different game with b4 on the board. Let's look at the b6 option after b4. Rook takes. No, I like this for black. Engine says rook b5. Okay, that makes sense. I was only looking at pawn takes, but okay, rook b5. Now I have to take it. I don't really want to give this. But then taking is knight d4. I might be losing. Oh yeah, I'm definitely losing. That's hanging. This is why the knight. Wow. Why he moved his knight back too? Yeah, b4 was crazy. I mean, he just like, maybe it was psychological. Is like what Gary was saying. If you saw the Gary Kasparov tweet, from that, and it was also talking about just the psychological part for Jan here, because he just captured. Which, I mean, even b3 seems like a move that you could possibly make instead of taking on a3. You know what I mean? It's definitely something, like, Even let's flip the board. Let's flip it, right? Now, how many of you guys would take this pawn? If you just look at it, right? Think about it. Think about it from your point of view. Like, would you actually take this pawn on a3? Right? Nope, no chance. No, b3. Correct. I mean, b4, I'm not ever looking at. b3, I mean, that's an automatic move, it feels like. b3 just feels automatic. I'm taking it because if anything never ends, b2 is in trouble. Well, yeah, that's a good one, Elfin. I'm taking it because if anything never ends. Yeah, b2 could be in trouble. But it's the fact that, I mean, it's a ways away. And the only way you can attack, I guess he didn't like the knight b4 action and stuff like this, too. Makes sense. But I know for a fact I'm not going to take this, though. Like, why would I just give him the fight? I mean, maybe that's what he wanted, obviously. But and you have to think about again. There's a lot of pressure on him. He's 2 games down. Every time he loses a game, he on YouTube. Everywhere, right? Not just this channel, but everywhere, right? There's a lot of pressure on this man. A lot of pressure, right? So after A3 happens, a collapse in a way. B takes A3, rook to D8. I like this in between move, right? Threatening knight takes D4 again. I was showing like if something like this. We got this. Let's turn this on. We got this kind of play, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice. Hobby and Hess commentary is fire. Yes, Shane. That's been fire. What's up, Shook? Was good. But knight B3 happened in the game. So knight F6 backs up, brings the knight back to civilization. Pretty nice. And after knight F6, rook to E1, right? I guess some X-ray and queen takes A3. And I mean, I'm just feeling this as black, right? I'm just literally loving this position. Also, right, if you study pawn structures, this is one thing that you should study, is pawn structures. Does anyone know what this pawn structure is called? Let's get a quiz from the chat here. Does anyone know what this pawn structure is called? What is this pawn structure called? Hanging pawn structure, hanging pawns. Very nice. Very nice. Very, very nice. Excellent. Hanging pawns, right? Hanging pawns are almost the same as an isolated. Because many times as you push it, it gets weaker and it will end up becoming isolated. But your idea here is to just bully the pieces that attack it. So trading queens is fine. Trading the pieces that defend the pawns, and they become super weak. Pretty good stuff. And you got a target here as well. If you look at pawn islands, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. This whole thing is an island. 1, 2, these 2. That's 2, and then 3. Or actually, this is like and 4. So both of these are like islands. This one's an island. This one is an island. This one is an island. These 3 make 1. So 4, and this one is 1 island, and this is 2. So 2 islands versus 4, which is very good to understand for pawn structures. So you can understand why an endgame would be good for black, or an endgame would be what black would be choosing for. Or we would trade pieces and not even think twice about it because we understand the pawn structure. The pawn structure is the GPS of the game. So after queen takes A3, queen E2, H6, which is a very nice prophylactic move. It's a Magnus move. It's a super GM move. Like H6 makes some love for the king, right? We're going to squeeze this one out. And then this next maneuver I thought was brilliant here after bishop D7, developing the piece off the back rank, and after knight E5 with complications. Obviously, if you take, you're looking crazy out here. Knight look ridiculous. You're about to take here. The knight is restricted. Not to mention, the knight's worst enemies are the pawns, right? So your enemy's pawns. So something like 98 and you out here looking gross. You got to remember this is the world championship match, not a game on chess.com. So after bishop to D7, 95, he backed it up to E8, which is beautiful. The file's still open here. We're not worried about any of this capturing and stuff like that. Right, this is good to go. If knight takes, we can take with the bishop. And I briefly looked at this because I was like, what if this happens, right? I was looking at this line because I'm like, what would happen? But this knight's tied down due to the hanging pawn, so you can't go to C5. I also have rook A4 to pressure this one. So virtually, black just has all the play. You can't really move anything because you have too many weaknesses, even though I have kind of like one. So I totally understood this. This is fire. This was 100% fire. So after this bishop E8, there was queen to E3 here. Right, there's a lot of play left, chat. So let's see. Right, what happened here? They was talking about this queen B4 from Magnus here. Do anybody remember what they were saying? I don't actually remember. There you go. I think Pawns, yeah, Mary Pawns, right, in Brazil. Thank you for the follow, Zil Rain. Why did he take with the queen instead of rook? Also, why now? Is it still hanging? Why did you take with the queen instead of the rook? Oh, you mean back here on A3? That's a great question, great observation. Back here, taking with the rook is definitely an option. Definitely an option, but he chose queen takes. Let's actually see. Is there any? Can you see the difference? I guess is very slight here. Very slight, half a pawn of a difference. Maybe to get out of the X-ray. Absolutely, I believe so. I think that's a great way. X Factor, thanks for gifting. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah. Correct. So fast forwarding, queen b4 happens here though. Queen b4 actually pressures c4, which is good, and it also gets out the way. Ties the rook down still. We're threatening to take in many cases, not technically right now, due to the tempo on the knight, but c4 is connected to this knight. So it's good to know that. Con Queso, thanks for the follow. Rook E to B1 with some pressure here. Maybe some knight. Oops, that definitely didn't happen. Maybe some knight C5 action. And then knight takes E5. He takes back with the pawn. Knight G4. Nice move here. Also, we're threatening to play H5. Definitely. Cricket, thanks for the follow. Go Flick, thanks for the follow. Mine been good, X Factor. Thanks for the follow, little Miyazaki, yeah. All right. Knight G4 happened, hit the queen, and then after the queen moves to E1. Now, what did we say, right? We talked about the pawn structure being a GPS. We still have these weaknesses. Let's count the pawn islands. 1, 2. These three are, or these four are actually all connected because they can now be connected. So this whole thing is one pawn island. That's 1, 2, 3. For black, we have 1. These are connected. And then these are kind of connected. So 2 versus white having 3. Once again, this is a problem. Follow train. Let's go. Ethernet. Amir YVN, thanks for the follows. Queen E1, so he trades. Remember, we talked about that. C4 is hanging, but B7 is hanging. That's a great question. Let's look at this. I actually never looked at this in analysis. Queen takes. It just doesn't seem right. There's even a knight A5. Is that possible? Maybe you can take it. Maybe you can. But it's not ideal, I would say. It's not ideal. I don't really like that. Yo, thanks for the 5 gifted subs from X Factor. Let's use command 5 in the chat for that right there. Thanks, bro. That's a 5-piece 5 and we live. Thanks for the follow. Here we die. Thanks for gifting X Factor. Appreciate you, bro. Let's get that command 5 in the chat, y'all. So remember, we did say trading was something that we liked. So queen takes E1, rook takes, and then look again at the structure, right? The structure is rough. Black is definitely drawing. I mean, what they say here, black is now playing for what they say 2 results, right? 2 results. I'm either winning or I'm drawing this game. There's like no way I can lose in a way, right? No way I can lose. Black just has the better structure. Yes, we have the worst piece, but we can kind of like, you know, do something about this. Now, Magnus played H5 here, and I was wondering, like, why did he play H5? Then it dawned on me, oh, yeah, his knight. It's the worst placed piece. It's garbage. Bishop not the best either, but this knight is definitely not moving anywhere. Oh, uh-oh, something must have happened to my soundboard. Usually when that glitch happens like that, be something wrong with my soundboard. Let me see. Okay, it's still working. Why not queen E2 instead of queen E1? Then he holds the pawns. That's a great question. Let's look back at that. Yeah, it just kind of glitched out. What happened there? That was strange. Yeah, queen E2 instead of queen E1. That's a good question. Let's see. So we get this far, and then takes. Okay, so queen E2. Let's turn off. Oh, wait. I was on the analysis one. Oh, yeah. I'm on this board. I'm tripping. Here we go. I was already here. So knight G4, queen E2. Let me see. It's a good question. Hitting the knight. I don't know why. Wow. That's actually interesting. That's very interesting, guys. Magnus said that he actually missed queen E1 because now B7 is hanging, as well as his knight is trapped. Oh, he missed queen E1. Yeah, I get it. Thanks, bonus bishop. Yeah, so many boards, yeah. Someone said for great. And eval bar be like 0. Right, I know, X Factor. Yeah, talking about the player must be in a terrible or a great spot in the eval bar. Like, no, it's just equal, bro. Thanks, bonus bishop. I'll see you later. So the queen is attacking the knight here. I mean, you gotta kind of like play H5, which I'm sure he was gonna do this anyway, and back the knight around that way. Play G6 to solidify H5. Play at knight F5. This is a great position for black. Queen E1 though takes, and now yes, B7 is hanging, but again, I mean these like this is still playing for 2 results. H5, making sure my knight can get out, and there was a capture on B7, and this right here is where it got crazy, right? Magnus plays Rook A4, and then right here is where the man found the tallest building he can find and jumped off of it after he played C5. Garbage. That's not a move. That is not a move. Do y'all remember when this happened? What were you doing and what did you say when this happened? What was y'all doing, right? Do y'all remember when this happened? C5 and everybody around the world lost their absolute mind. Garbage. Oh, man. Everybody out here was going crazy. It was like, what is he doing? What is he doing? He lost his absolute. Right? Because after c5, c6 just traps the bishop in here. Man's left the stage for half an hour. Yeah, after he c5, he probably noticed that he could play c6, and he was probably just, doing whatever. Chilling, debating, bro. Should I even go back, bro? Like, should I even go back in the room? Can I just go home right now? What if I knock all the pieces off the board, right? All this kind of stuff that you just start asking, Nah, the press out there. Nah, I can't do that. I can't do that, right? And the reason how I know these are thoughts, is because I have those thoughts. Especially when you're losing. When you're losing, you're like, you know what? If I knock over all these pieces, what would actually happen? No, let's not do that. And then you just come back to life and just be like, all right, I ain't gonna do it. I'm just not. But you definitely want to after you find a blunder like this, because right now, in fact, this pawn is hanging, right? And you can see, you have to, first off, I asked myself, I was like, why did he play c5, right? Why did he play c5? Out of all the moves, you have to think about that, right? Why did he play c5? Because it is hanging. The first win ruined him, to be honest, says YVN. That is 100% correct. I think at game 6 is where the collapse happened. After that long grind of 139 moves and 8 hours of chess in game 6, right, that affected him in games 8 and then in game 9. It affected him immediately because of that, right? Anyone ever get mad and just punch an opponent in his face just asking? Nah, remain confident. I don't think we did that one, big dog. And we're not going to ask it if you have, but we are going to say be very careful and be calm. It's going to be okay. Kumbaya and all that good stuff. Pawn structure. 250. Thanks for the 250 bits, Platinum. Appreciate it, bro. Let's go. Thanks for that, bro. Thanks for that. Okay, so rook to a4 hits the pawn, right? Deep breaths, yeah. Right. Rook takes c4 is the deal, right? This is what we want to do. So you have to look at the options. This is why, ask yourself again, why did he play c5? Because his pawn's hanging. You can't defend this way, obvious. Can't go here, obvious. Knight d2, obvious, right? And if it's not obvious to you, well, first off, secondly, is hanging. So you can't do that. So then, right, well, okay, what about this rook? And I was really trying to analyze, like, why did he play c5? He didn't like knight takes c5. This rook was defending this. So now this is hanging, right? He didn't like this. He didn't like how this looked. Maybe you have knight c5 and try to push the a-pawn, which I think that's kind of what happened in the game. And if you move this rook, rook takes. So virtually, the pawn's kind of, he's like, oh, just push it. But forgot, right, that he was blocking with his whole face after the c5 move here. c5, start a new game. Thanks for the follow, Jordan. Right, c5, and then c6, and then the bishop's trap. After this, the game was over. Maybe c5 was a mouse slip or touch move here. Right, especially speaking of touch move, but Magnus touching the knight, right? Knight move. Y'all remember with the little adjust, silent adjust. Right, oh man, it was controversy, everything about that. And it was not, but it was for sure an adjust. For sure an adjust. c6. You said, what about rook to e4? Are you talking about right now? Oh, you're talking about back here. Rook e4. Great observation. This is one that we didn't even look at. It's got to be wrong, though. First off, it doesn't threaten anything. Maybe I could play c6 anyway. It probably just block you in anyway. Well, it just says it's equal after that. So it's definitely not that one. So the engine says it's completely equal. Maybe you just trapped right now. Rook b8. Are you just trapped now? Maybe it's rook b8 and then knight c5, rook b4. The bishop's still trapped. Oh, there's knight a6, bishop a6. This is strange. Okay, so now let me see what it is. What is the... So it's rook b8, and if knight c5... Oh, probably rook a7, like what happened in the game. That is one, but the better one's rook a5. So this could have been a line. It would have been slightly tricky here. It would have been very tricky. And then it goes to this line right here. And then knight c5 and takes. And you got this, which is sort of kind of like what the game looked like. Interesting. Okay, but rook a4, c5, right, c6, and f3 happens. Obviously, he moves the knight back. And right here, it was, I think some of the commentary I was watching, they was thinking like, yo, should I think Jan's thinking about, should he resign or should he play on? And I'm like, dang, this is just rough. They just killing that man, like literally just smashing that man. It's terrible. So knight h6, rook to e4. Finally, now rook goes to e4 and then rook a7 to hit that boy. It's trapped. Literally, c5 was a super blunder. c6, now that boy's trapped in there. Game 8 looking very, very nice. So rook b4, rook b8, and that's a piece. That's a rapster. So a4, he takes those, snap, snap, and now I'm just up a piece for no reason at all, no compensation, no nothing. I'm just up. Knight f5, a5, and I remember they was talking about after rook b8 and a6, they was saying should he take the pawn, and he does take the pawn. And then he goes for the knight a4 option, plays c5 to activate the bishop, right? And it was looking at the a7 idea, right? With a7 rook, oh yeah, that's actually what happened too. A7 rook d8 here. He took on c5, but knight b6. What I remember, let's turn this off. What I remember seeing was after knight b6, he just goes to this endgame that's winning, right? You just literally win this endgame, and many times because the knight and the rook here. I mean, yes, I'm just winning all of this. Your pawns are terrible. I'm up pawns already, so we're just gonna win this endgame, no problem. Out of curiosity, bishop was lost. Why bring rook over and not just sack for the pawn? Well, you mean back here, like sacking for the pawn? I think if you sack for the pawn, the problem is, like here, the problem is the bishop gets way more active than it should right now, right? So sacking for the pawn would be worse. It'd be absolutely worse. Because as soon as the bishop get active, now it's even worse for you. It took a while, you see. I think Jan did a great job of trying to, like, keep it where it is because this bishop never got active. It stayed right here for a long time. Rook b4 to protect pawn, by the way, allows bishop b7 to get swarmed by rooks and can't retreat, right? Yeah, so a4, he can't go anywhere, takes, and then we have this position. He does go back to b8, a6 happens, knight takes g3. Knight a4, trying to really get this last thing in. c5 definitely wins. a7, and he goes rook to d8. Rook a8 would actually blunder. Knight b6, super blunder here. Obviously hoping for it. Rook to d8. Now really on a piece of bishop ain't in play. Correct. That's right. So he had to get that piece in play, and he chose to take the pawn. Again, knight b6 goes into the losing endgame, so he chose to take the pawn here. And after rook a8, that was it. Like Jan just was like, I'm out of here. I don't want any more. I've had enough. Like I just dropped another one. And now he's thinking about, do I sign the waiver to get out of this? Do I even show up tomorrow? Right? This is rough. It's very rough, but it happens. It's the World Championship match, and they was mentioning, there's a stat out there that Gary was down 0-6. I mean, something crazy like that. He was down 6 games, basically. Down 6 games, right? And was able to come back like something nuts. So that's strange. Now, of course, it was a lot more games back then too as well. But it did, in this day and time, all the pressure's out, all the press, everybody like Nepo, you getting destroyed, right? That really does something to you mindset wise, right? And you have to be very, very mentally strong to get up the next day and kind of push everything and everyone to the side and go in there and do your thing, right? So a lot of pressure on the man. We can only wish the best for him as he is going to play that big man tomorrow, and hopefully he can stop the bleeding, right? So, and this was game 9 of the World Championship.